Hi, I'm Charlotte Merrill, and this is our So Let's Be Friends podcast. This is a place where everyone belongs, and every story matters. Together, we celebrate our differences, bring awareness to disabilities, and build a more inclusive and supportive world. One conversation at a time, let's open our hearts and listen with kindness.
I like when people ask me about my crutches because they can get to know me, and I like having friends, so let's be friends.
Hi friends, welcome back to So Let's Be Friends, where we show up for each other, listen to real stories, and help families find answers and hope. Today I'm talking with Kasey about her and her daughter. They're sharing their experience living with a rare disease and what it looks like to be both a parent and a caregiver, navigating the medical world. We'll talk about their story, what they have learned along the way, and why voices of caregivers matter so much, not just in family, but in research and understanding rare disease. Thank you for being here and sharing your story with us. I'm Charlotte, and we're excited to listen. Kasey, can you start by telling us a little bit about you and your daughter?
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much for inviting me on. I am honored.
You're welcome.
We're excited to have you.
So me and my daughter, well, I, was a stay-at-home mom with, I have an older son, Davis, and then his little sister, Robbie, came 3 years later, and she's now 12. She is, I don't like leading with globally disabled because that puts a picture in the head of, something that's very different from the essence of her. She is like a little spark plug. She's sweet, and she's sassy, and she's got so much personality. So I'm very happy.
Thank you.
Like a mom. No,
yes, yes, I can feel your sparkly personality. And I'm Anna. I'm Charlotte's mother, and I'm excited to be with you and get to meet you today.
What are some things your daughter loves to do? What makes her smile?
She's a very joyful child. One of her favorite things to do is to boss people around. So she can't speak a lot of words, but she can figure out like a few, like sit here, open that, watch this, and but she does it in a way that is very endearing. And so people, I have to tell people, you don't have to do everything she says because they just want to hang with her. And she loves music. She's got her own little playlist that she's obsessed with music and cars. She loves cars for some reason. And her big brother, she's obsessed with him. So she's very, very full, happy child with like I said, global disability. So she's in a wheelchair now. She had a walker for a time, and she actually loves the independence the wheelchair gives her. She can kind of zip where we used to have to help her from her walker to the chair. Now she just kind of rolls where she wants to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
You did a lot, huh? So is the walker more like a gait trainer to help her with her gait, or is it a walker?
It was a walker, like a I think it's called a K walker. It was
gait
back.
trainer.
Yeah, yeah.
To help them work their gait.
Oh yeah, yeah. And she had a little,
I see.
belt and
Okay, yeah, the gait belt and everything.
yep,
Awesome,
yep.
wonderful. So she uses that at times, and the
She
wheelchair boat.
do. She had hip surgery last year. We were trying to keep her walking, as much as possible. It is a degenerative disorder, slowly progressive over time. And as far as we know, it impacts legs and arms in the degenerative. Maybe
Okay.
not. That's
And
a
that's where we've been
well,
at and are with her as well. So I totally understand that. Charlotte's
so
2 now, so we've had to
yeah.
navigate all those similar things. She goes from forearm crutches, gait trainer into a wheelchair. It's whatever the day looks like.
Yeah. And Robbie, she didn't love the walker. She
Oh,
really,
no. Okay.
yeah, no, she did not want anything to do with trying to keep walking, to be
And
honest. I think it was hard for her.
more
And
independent and it feels better in the wheelchair than for her.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Awesome.
So,
That makes sense.
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
What is something about your family that people might not see right away but means a lot to you?
Yeah. I think, the first thing that popped into my head is that we're happy. Like it seems so obvious to say because I feel happy. But I think the first glance, sometimes people, and maybe you're familiar with this, that they kind of they look with pity or empathy, and
Mhm.
then they'll catch a glimpse of my son making her laugh, and then you start to see them smile, and they realize, oh, look, there's so much more to this
Mhm. The relationship.
situation.
Hmm.
Yeah. So,
Wonderful. Thank you. Yeah, you can be happy. There's a part I think that
yeah.
you mourn
Hmm.
find your child has a disability or disease or all the stuff. There's a mourning time, however long that looks. But then there becomes a time, and it doesn't mean it gets easy. It's still hard, but it works into your life differently, right?
Yeah.
And you can find happy.
Yeah.
You can be happy, right?
Yep.
And that's
Yeah.
kind of where we have 3 children with a neurodegenerative disease, still undiagnosed, that causes cerebral palsy, ataxia, and a whole bucket list of problems, and that's okay. And we're happy, right, Charlotte? Do you feel
Mhm.
happy?
Yes.
And there's still hard days, right? But yes,
Yeah.
people do look at pity, seeing the special needs and
Even though
disabilities.
when I have a hard day, I just smile and
Yeah.
just get through the day.
Yeah. That's perspective, just to know that it's a day and tomorrow can be better and you start anew.
That's a new day, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Thank you.
Yeah.
When did you first begin noticing that something might be different with your daughter's health?
Well, this was a unique story, I think, kind of, is that I had no idea. She
Hmm.
was 4 months old and she was having trouble nursing. And
Hmm.
I didn't think anything more about it other than I want her to go on a bottle. Oh no, she was fine nursing, she couldn't take a bottle. And so I just really wanted her to take a bottle. And I tried all different, going to the support groups and stuff. And someone recommended that maybe early intervention might
Okay.
help.
Yes, that was our last podcast.
I saw that and I was
I
just
love
like,
that.
early intervention,
Hmm.
they were so amazing. But they
Good.
came in at 4 months old and they did an evaluation. And at the end, they said, she hasn't reached any of the milestones.
Hmm.
And I was like, she's 4 months old. What milestones are there? Like that was my first. I was like, I don't. She's 4 months old.
Right.
And so it was more of a watch and see at that point because you hear about how many kids started delayed in this and that,
Mhm.
and I just thought she'll catch up.
Right. That's what you get told a lot of times, or you feel she'll catch
Right?
up. That's what you hope and pray for,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. You hear it all the time. Everyone says it.
She'll catch up.
She'll
Yep, I
catch
heard
up.
that
That's
for
happened to
4.
my friends,
Yep.
brothers,
I heard that for
cousin.
4 or 5 years with Charlotte. She'll catch up. And at 4 years, still didn't catch up. So I was a little slower catching on.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
That's
because
hard.
it
And
happens. Everyone knows someone that it took that long. So
that's a hard emotional spot to be in.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
What happened after that? When did you start
So
feeling and recognizing,
I think it was about
accepting, I
12.
guess is more the word.
Well, it was about 12 months, I think. I forget the exact age, and the pediatrician was like, you got to go for further. At this point, you need to go get her further looked at.
Before-
And I think, yeah, it was maybe a 6 month wait. but I think I forget the timeline, but she was going through evaluation. We're just got that she's, I think they even said severely globally. They called it delayed at that time because sometimes they catch up.
Yep.
So
Sometimes they catch up,
um,
right?
they didn't want to say it was a disability, globally disabled at that time, but it was globally delayed, and they put it scheduled us for an MRI the next month, and then a couple weeks later, Robbie had a seizure, and yeah, we had to get medevaced to Boston Children's Hospital, and she was in there for a few days, and they expedited the MRI, and they saw that there was what they thought was brain damage. It turns out it was actually developmental um, issues, I think, but that was that was the moment when they
The
said,
moment.
we can see, yeah, we can see
That
that
was the
there's
big turn.
damage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you.
Wow. Okay. What was their journey like trying to find answers?
Yeah. We were lucky in that we were right. You were with Boston Children's Hospital, and we had gone through Mass General for the developmental assessment. So I think she had a neurologist there, and and I think we got a follow-up neurologist at Boston Children's, and both of them picked up on that. We don't think it's damage from injury. We think it's genetic. Let's get tested. And so I think it was right before the holidays, like Christmas. And I was like, I don't want to do this right now. Let's get through the holidays and get her
Right.
tested, and waited. And to be honest, again, lucky is that the gene was on the panel that they took. It was like the
Oh,
200 different
wow.
disorders
Yeah,
that
ours
they looked
still not
at.
on any panel. 22
We
years
can
later, we still can't
offline. I
figure it
would
out.
love to talk to you about some. Well, actually, I was going to say there's some diagnosis potential, but I'd have to look at my
Yeah, we
notes.
just started a
Anyway,
whole nother blood work. We're working on a whole nother turn, doing
yeah,
all the stuff again. So
yeah.
for the
Um,
so what else on
but
your journal? What else happened on your journey?
yeah, so no, so they pegged it, and they said it matches something that there's 9 patients in the world, and they're all in the Middle East. And but we need to take saliva from you and your husband at the time, and because it's autosomal recessive, you need one gene from each parent to inherit one pathogenic variant from each parent in order to get this disorder. And so we need to know that you each have that variant. And then we had to wait 6 weeks, which was an awful 6 weeks. And then we got the diagnosis.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But
Well,
getting, I think, a diagnosis is good though, right? Because it puts you in a direction to know where to go. Does that
well,
diagnosis is
so that's a very good conversation because I obviously, before we got the final, I remember leaving the genetics office when they told us about the disorder, and I was crying, and I said, I wish we never knew. Like, I
oh,
wish we never
okay.
looked.
You wish you never looked.
And yeah,
What
and
did they call the disorder?
it's hereditary spastic paraplegia type 47.
Okay.
But my daughter's dad at the time, he said, I will never forget, he said, no, I think this is a good thing because now we know what we can fight, what we have to fight against.
Mm-hmm. Well,
And we
there's
started
truth to
fighting.
that, but it's so hard, right? And every
Yeah.
time we start this genetic testing, I'm like, why are we doing this again? We haven't ever found
Yeah.
out. And I go on this hope roller coaster of like, maybe we'll figure it out, but they just keep saying maybe they're just missing a chemical, maybe they're just missing something. So they keep
Yeah.
wanting to do it, and I'm hopeful. Now I'm more at peace. We're okay. We're keeping them alive.
Yeah.
That's our
Yeah.
goal now. We're keeping them alive, keeping them upright most of the time.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we've never got a diagnosis, and I've had to become at peace with that. That may never happen for our family. We're even
Yeah.
looking in the junk genes. Have you talked about those? There's junk genes that
DNA,
nobody talks
dark.
about. Yeah, there's all,
Yeah.
all the genes, and then there's the
Yep.
junk genes that nobody
Yep.
talks about. But now in the last 10 years or 5 years, whatever, they've started to realize there's things hidden in those genes too that are important. They
Is
don't
it
call
I think it's if it's the same thing, it's like dark DNA, I think they've called it,
it
where
stuff you
it's the
just kind of ignore.
non-coding,
Yep. Yeah.
non-coding stuff. Yeah.
So now the
Yeah, I
research
did
in
I
that
dive
area.
deep on a lot of genetics and stuff
Oh my
throughout the
goodness, yeah.
years. Yeah.
Well, so how do you feel now that fast forward later, how do you feel now that they found a diagnosis for her? Was that helpful for you or was that
Yeah, so we started a nonprofit with we found and
okay?
it's an umbrella disorder, so there's like 90 different subtypes under it. And I joined the support group for that umbrella, and by the grace of God met another family that had the same disorder. Their daughter's 2 years old too at the same
Okay.
time.
Okay.
And they were in Philadelphia and we were in Massachusetts, and we started talking, started a nonprofit, started funding research. Like we were in the right places at the right time. And, it's been a decade and we've got a few therapeutics, not therapeutics, but potential therapeutics, and starting observational studies soon for an FDA approved drug that might has shown efficacy in disease model tadpoles. And
Wow.
yeah.
That's huge. That's wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Wow.
I'm excited.
I'm so excited for you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Okay, we'll keep praying and moving that forward and supporting you how we can as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, no, I'd love to keep conversations up after this and be with you
Absolutely.
through your journey too.
Thank you.
How did you, how did your role as a mom change as you become a caregiver and advocate?
Oh, yeah. So I started out, yeah, like I said, as a stay-at-home mom. I loved it. We had planned on that. You know, doing all the kids stuff. And very, very quickly, I became hyper focused on any publication that I could find and how to get a nonprofit off the ground and how to get awareness. And um, at the same time, being the caregiver, and early intervention was there 3, 4 times a week, and realizing that, okay, and the house is going to be a mess. It used to be the house was nice when people came over, and now I was like, come in, there's food on the counters, and
Yes.
this is my life right now. And
Mhm.
it was having to balance the difficult, but also the new normal. And how do I raise both kids? But in particular, my son was 5 at the time and very precocious. He's, you know, older than his years mentally, and how do I make this the childhood that he should have, that they
Right.
should have?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, I have
So,
typical or whatever you want to call it among
yeah,
I have 3 kids with a disability, and then my one, Kalisha, who trying to let her live the normal life without me using her as a helper all the time, right? Having
yeah,
to,
exactly. A little about my background is I worked at the MDA as a healthcare service coordinator, and I moderated the parent support group and the patient support group, and I learned how much the sibling that's unaffected can be affected. And I was
hmm
like, okay, balance.
Right. Like Kalisha, my other daughter, that's just younger than her. I remember when she got diagnosed with asthma, she was actually excited. She was like, "Is this my thing?" She felt outnumbered because she didn't have a disability or a disease. So it
Yeah,
almost gave her security. And so when you say that, what does it create in our typical kids, right? To be a
yeah,
part of that.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that's when I kind of, keyed in on her a little bit more, recognizing that she needed to have her thing. So I needed to find out.
yeah.
So that's kind of when we moved into our family of all abilities. What are your abilities?
Hmm.
Focused on that so much, focusing on the disability, because I think we
Yeah,
honed in on the disability that she had to find her disability. And that's okay.
yeah,
Everyone
yeah,
in the world has disabilities. We all have
yeah.
our things, right? But
Hmm.
that's when I started as a mom to shift my mind to what are their abilities? What can we support them in that they can do rather than
Yeah,
what they can't do? I don't know. That
yeah.
was kind of a shift in my brain. So when you said that, I kind of felt that there for your son.
Yeah, no, I love that too, but because it focuses on what you can do, and when you start to look for that, you find it and you can hone in
Exactly.
on it.
Right.
So,
So I do have a question for you, because I know it says, what your role as a mom changed to a caregiver and advocate. And we know as moms, there's a point, we are caregivers for our children when they're really little, right? That's a normal thing. But as we get older, what becomes the difference of between not just being a mom to you, but also a caregiver? Does that make sense? Because like my
Yeah.
Felicia started taking showers and baths on her own around 5, 6, 7 years old, like a typical kid, right? Where you could just tell her to go take a bath or a shower.
Yeah.
And I was giving baths to my Charlotte has started taking showers on her own in just the last 2 years. Is that about right? Before that, she
Yeah.
couldn't wash her own hair.
Yeah.
So so the caregiving is where you're more hands-on, right? Taking care of your child.
Yeah.
Go
I'll
ahead.
say, I mean, that honestly is the hardest part, is because she's getting bigger, she's getting heavier, and
Right.
it's really, really involved. But she's joy. So we can make, like the hardest days, like you say, when I'm exhausted, it's not fun. But when I have the energy, we can make the baths. We do baths still fun. She's still in diapers, so I have to change that. But it's with the wheelchair, and we live in a town that's beautiful, but it's an older town, and it's like accessibility is an issue.
Right.
You really have to
Understand.
think. Exactly. You
Mhm.
really you really have to think
We're in a
about
rural
where
small
you're
area
going
too.
and how
Yeah.
you're going to get there.
Right.
Um, and sometimes you forget. I was like, once I went to dinner, I like made reservations. I was like, I forgot to call ahead and see if they have an like to make sure
Around.
that it's
Hmm.
on the yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll go
So
check things out ahead of time just so we don't have to get in that embarrassing chaos once we get there. Right.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
That's
So it adds an extra level of, I guess, executive function skills that I lack greatly because I have ADHD as well. So
I love that.
it keeps me on my toes.
Yes, no, that's good. But that's good that you're aware of that and, thinking to call. So that just gets you more propelled forward to pay attention to those things. Even on trips, we
Yeah,
go look at something ahead of time before we take our family on a trip. Or like you
yeah,
said, call
yeah,
and find out to make sure. And
yep.
sometimes people don't let my family come because they have disabilities. We've been told no. And that's hard and that hurts, right? We couldn't do a boat in Florida because my kids had disabilities. And, there's
Yeah,
all those stories, and I know you've gone through
yeah,
that too. And so that's
yeah,
kind of what we're trying to promote is just helping people welcome those with disabilities
yeah,
in the world and not be
yeah,
afraid.
yeah, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
What does daily life look like for your family now?
It's so funny because I think that, every family has their issue. Every person, like you said, has something that, and so aside from like what I said, the difficulty of the caregiving, it's beautiful. Like my son loves his sister. Like he's very affectionate to her, and he to the point where sometimes she doesn't like to be like him near her. So like she's like, get away. And it's just like it warms my heart though, because he's 15, he's growing up. But he really enjoys having her next to him sometimes. I won't say really enjoys. But she loves him so much that if he's playing video games, she wants to be right next to him, and he'll let her. And I think sometimes he wouldn't probably admit this. I probably shouldn't have this on the podcast, but like I think he likes, he'll be like, "What are you guys up to?" Robbie can come in, like sort of thing. So
He
it's
doesn't want to miss out on his sister's life. He loves being near her.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
special.
and
I think that's super.
yeah, yeah, and it's just I feel like it's funny to say that if you take the disability completely away, it's like, so happy and would be, but I think it's the disability that has brought some of this caring of the brother, like it has helped form him. So yeah, so busy, and after school activities for him, after school therapies for her. So it's not super atypical because I'm still doing that car going around taxiing. It's just to different
Mhm.
places,
Right?
sort of thing. Yeah.
And it kind of doesn't end when you're a caregiver because as they get older, they still can't drive and you still want them to be a part of life.
Yeah,
So you're constantly
exactly.
doing that. I know when my
Yeah.
daughter went to college, Kalisha did, she asked me to bring Charlotte on the weekends because that was her person.
Oh,
And that
yeah.
just means a lot to you as a mother. It reminded me of that, like just sitting by each other playing video games. When she went away to college, she's like, I need Charlotte here. And so I
That's so
bring her on the
She's
funny.
my
weekends.
pal. And we're
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can look past the disability and see the person and just love being with
Yeah.
them. And
Yeah.
they make you whole because they're a person, right?
Yeah.
So you want
Yeah.
that, and you just
Yeah.
need that connection. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
What are some challenges families may not realize living with a rare disease?
Yeah. Oof. How much, living with any health condition is hard. Like we talked about the mobility and the stuff. And then the rare disease is that you just don't know, you
You
don't
don't
know
know.
what you don't know. You don't
Uh-huh.
know sometimes who you can talk to. And you don't always think about the toll mentally it takes on you of the unknown. Like that's not even like present all the time, but it's there. So I
Your
think,
physical body, all the lifting you're doing, you have to be aware
and
to lift correctly. Use your legs, not your
yes,
shoulders and your back, right?
yes.
I tore my body up in the beginning lifting wrong over.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. And then, my daughter has safety issues, so it's like I'm always on making sure she jumps, like doesn't go into the traffic. So I think maybe this isn't specifically rare disease, but just that we're on all the time. So if we're exhausted, and they know that to expect that we're exhausted anyway, but it is a level like if you're seeing it, we're at a level like red flag 10.
Right, right. Yes, you gotta, yeah, we're always on. I like how you said that, making sure they don't roll into off the curb into the street, because that's happened with a walker when the
Yeah.
wind blows, right? All
Yeah.
little things.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's scary.
It's yeah. Yeah.
That's interesting. I
So
didn't ever think of that. We're always on. We're always high energy, making sure they don't choke or,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, let's see, number 9. Sorry.
What strengths have you seen grown in your daughters through this journey?
Yeah. So she's always been such a force of strength mentally. It was just more familiar with family. We knew her personally. I would say the biggest strength she's shown is her ability. When she first started school, it was awful. She cried every single day. It was torture. And, from day one, she didn't, I remember being invited to a birthday party and
Mhm,
all
I'm
the
sure
other little
seeing.
kids were introducing the parents to their friends, and Robbie wanted to play by herself over here. And I looked at a wall and cried, like
Mhm.
the corner, and cried. But then by the end of the year, there was a little girl who really loved Robbie and and
Oh,
I ended up running into them outside of at like swim lessons once, and the mom introduced herself, and she's like, "This is Madison." I was like, "I heard of Madison." And I was like, "Do you want to do a
oh.
play date?" And
Yes, to get to do a play date is huge, especially.
let's be friends, right?
Oh, let's be friends. Yes.
Yeah. And it
Oh,
really, honestly, we credit this little girl to opening Robbie's eyes of other kids. And now she's like, they call her the mayor at school, where the kids flock to her, and she's like the class clown, and she'll like doesn't care about getting reprimanded. So if she'll like throw a book off the desk just to get a reaction. Like she's a little
that's
naughty,
fun.
but
No,
she
I
loves it.
love that. Her personality, to me, that shows already advocating for herself, already not staying quiet and hidden in a corner. I
Oh
call my
yeah.
kids, my kids would get left on a beanbag lots of times, is what we would kind of
Oh,
talk about. Like, let's get them off the beanbag
yeah.
yeah, and be
Yeah.
seen and heard and a part of the classroom. I love that.
Yep. I will say that reminded me, like I've had clinicians, like they get excited when Robbie's on the schedule, but I've had them say that she will go far because of her
Yes,
personality.
because of that
Because
personality.
yeah.
I think that's wonderful. Yeah, don't dampen, don't stop that.
Yeah.
Don't
You can't.
tell her to
She's a
push that book
force.
off the desk and get attention. That's, I think, advocating. That's showing advocating skills for herself, and that's humongous.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, I'm so happy for her. Well, good.
This life is beautiful, and you are wonderful.
If you're listening, thank you for being a part of this. We are excited to share more stories and more truth and more love in every episode. Until next time, love one another, and like I say, so let's be friends.